Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, there was a poor farmer by the name of Bukit. He lived with his wife, City, and their only daughter, Melati. Now, when Melati came of age, she was ready to get married. She was marrying a boy in the same village as her. The village was called Bukit Payong, or Umbrella Hill. And her parents were so happy and so excited. They wanted to prepare for a wedding feast and invite all their neighbors for some makan, for some eating. Well, they thought and thought. They knew that they could cook some delicious food, but they didn't have enough plates or cups to serve their neighbors. So they thought the only way that they could get enough was to borrow from them. So the next day, Pak Putih decided that after work at the plantation, he would go to his neighbor's place and borrow these plates and cups. And Mark City stayed at home doing the housework, and she prepared lunch for her husband. As she was walking through the jungle, she realized someone was watching her. She felt the eyes behind her back. You know that feeling. She looked around and looked around, and suddenly she saw a young girl with long black hair, wearing a sarong. She had shining skin, and she even carried an umbrella, a paper umbrella made out of bamboo. She turned to that girl and she said, "Who are you? Why are you here?" And the girl looked at her and said, "City, I am the fairy princess of Bukit Payong, of Umbrella Hill. City, I am here to help you." "Help me? How would you like to help me?" "Ah, I hear that your daughter Melati is getting married, and I know that you need cups and plates for the wedding feast. So, I have an idea. I will provide you with whatever you need, whatever cups, whatever plates you need for your feast. You can find them right here where I am." City looked at this young girl. "Really? You would do that for me?" "Oh, yes. I have seen how you and your neighbors share with each other, how you help each other, and I too want to help you and all your neighbors. But I need you to make sure that all the items are returned in their original condition. And if there's anything that's broken or chipped, they should be replaced. Can you remember that?" "Oh, yes, 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 princess. Yes, Putri." And she bowed. City bowed and bowed. And when she lifted her head, Princess was gone. She quickly went to the plantation where her husband was, told him about Putri, the fairy princess of Bukit Payong. He listened and nodded and ate and listened and nodded and ate. He couldn't believe it. He didn't need to go to his neighbor's place. He went home with City and they told their daughter the story. The next day, they went back to the place where City was, and true enough, all the plates and cups and everything they needed for the wedding feast was there. City quickly gathered all of it carefully in her sarong. She brought them home. Now, on the day of the wedding feast, they spread out the dishes. They had the dishes from the Putri of Bukit Payong. They served the curry, the grated coconut and rice cakes, the vegetables, and they served them in all these bowls. And the neighbors were amazed. "Wait a minute, aren't Pak Putih and City, aren't they poor like us? How did they afford all these new things?" City could see the questions in their mind, and she told them, "Well, I met this beautiful girl in the forest. She's called Putri, The Putri of Bukit Payong, have you heard of her? Now the neighbors have heard legends and stories of Putri who helps people when they are in need. And when they listen to Mark's city story, they're convinced that this fairy princess was here to help them. And when she told them all they had to do was to wish for whatever cups and plates and things that they needed for their celebration, and all they had to do was to go to the place, to the clearing in the forest to collect them. They were so happy, they were so glad. But Mark City did tell them, Princess had said, you must return them in their original condition. And if there's anything that's chipped or broken, you must replace them. Now the neighbors, they knew, they heard, but well, they decided to give it a go. So some of them, few of them who were having celebrations, they wished and wished for whatever utensils and cups and plates and glasses they needed. And the next day they went back to the same place that Mark City was, and there they all were. Quickly gathered them carefully into sarong, and they had a wonderful feast. Well, it was like this for weeks, for months. But after a while, the people of Bukit Payong, they forgot their promise to the fairy princess. Do you know what they forgot? Yes, they forgot to take care of the things she promised them. You know, when anything was broken or chipped, they didn't bother. They simply just returned whatever they had. And all there was laid on the ground were all the broken pieces, all those cups that they simply just threw aside. It was a very sad sight. And in time, Princess, the fairy princess, well, she saw what had happened and she simply chose not to provide any more things. Now, Mark City, she wasn't aware. Her daughter Malati was about to give birth to a baby girl. And, well, she wanted to have another feast for the neighbors to celebrate her granddaughter who was coming into the world. And so it was. She wished for enough plates, enough cups to serve the neighbors. Next day, she went back to the forest. All she saw on the ground were bits, broken pieces of porcelain, of little plates of cups. Putri Bukit Payong, Putri Bukit Payong, I wished for some plates and cups for my celebration. My daughter is giving birth. My daughter will give birth to a, a newborn. I would like to celebrate that with the neighbors. Please, please give us some things. There was silence. Please, please, we need some plates and cups, Mark City said sweetly and kindly. There was silence. Now Mark City went back home to a kampong, to a village, and she asked the neighbors, I asked for things, but there was nothing from the Putri. Do you know why? And then someone said, I think I know why. I think it's because the people didn't take care of the things the Putri gave them. They just threw it on the ground in the jungle and in the forest, and they thought, you know, well, the Putri would just give us new things again and again and again. And Mark City, she said, is that true? And when she turned to the people in her village, she asked, is that true that you simply just left the things there? And people would turn their heads away. They wouldn't say anything. They were very shy. They knew that what they did was wrong. And Mark City understood. And when that one night, she had a dream that Putri, the fairy princess of Bukit Payong, came to her and said, I am very sad that the people of Bukit Payong have returned my things in poor condition, chipped and broken. They have not replaced them. They simply chucked them there in the forest. And because of that, I will not return. I will not help. Take care, Mark City, and I wish your daughter well. And she left. And so it was. The neighbors never saw, never heard of the fairy princess of Bukit Payong ever again. And they had to resort to borrowing from each other the old, chipped, and cracked plates and glasses. For you see, the fairy princess can't help those who are not willing to help themselves. And that's a folk tale from Trengganu. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.